two rifles. One is 8 years old. It cost more than a lot of men's first truck, and right now it's sitting in a closet because a small polymer part cracked and the replacement is still on back order from a factory 3 states away. The other is 50 years old, older than half the arguments you have had at a gun counter. It went out into the woods a week ago and came back with meat on it. Nobody shipped it anywhere. It got taken apart on a kitchen table by a man who does not own a single power tool for the job. A screwdriver, a brass punch, an oiled rag. That is the whole kit. That has always been the whole kit. The advanced one is the one that is helpless. The obsolete one is the one still working. In the Amish communities where the Ordnung, the bishop set rules that govern each district, actually bars power tools from the shop, that second rifle is not a lifestyle choice. It is the only way a gun stays in the family. No dropping it off, no waiting on a back order. If it breaks and a pair of hands cannot fix it, it stops being a gun and starts being a wall decoration. So here is the real question. What did that restriction force those communities to hold on to, that the rest of us quietly let go of? And I will say this up front, because it matters later. The Amish is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Hold on to that. We are coming back to it. Start with what's actually in an Amish gun cabinet because it isn't exotic, a bolt gun or lever gun for deer season, a pump or break-action single for birds and pests, and almost always a .22 rimfire because the .22 does the daily work, groundhogs in the field, rats in the corn crib, a hawk that's decided the hen house is a buffet, quiet, cheap to feed, and forgiving of a kid's first 100 rounds. None of that's an accident. Every one of those actions shares the same trait. They're mechanically simple in the best possible way. Few moving parts, nothing that needs a circuit board, no geometry that only exists inside one company's proprietary tooling. Drift a pin, pull a spring, and the whole thing goes back together on a bench that's really just a kitchen table with decent light. That's the same reason your grandfather's pump gun or your dad's lever gun still cycles clean after 40 winters, while some rifles bought new 10 years ago already need a gunsmith just to get the bolt back out. Simplicity was never nostalgia. It's an engineering decision that doubles as a lifetime maintenance plan. The Amish didn't invent that principle. They just never got handed the option to forget it. Most of you know a gun like that. Some of you also know the other memory, the one you traded for cash you needed at the time, and have thought about more times in 30 years than you'd admit. That's not really about the gun. It's about knowing a thing well enough to keep it running yourself. Now, full credit where it's due, because this isn't a takedown of modern manufacturing. A real machine shop can cut a chamber to a tolerance measured in 10,000ths, true up a bolt face, build a barrel that groups tighter out of the box than a hand-fitted gun ever did a lifetime ago. If what you want is more accuracy or a platform built for a job those old actions were never designed for, the modern shop wins outright. That's the same reason a modern working rifle shrugs off weather, mud, and 1,000 rounds a year in ways some 100-year-old actions never could. That precision comes with a bill that doesn't show up until later, though. The more specific a part is, the more specific the fix has to be. A hand-fitted trigger group can usually be coaxed back into service by hand. A rifle built around a proprietary takedown pin, or a part only one factory casts, can't be. Not by you, not by anybody, without an account number and a shipping label. You traded self-sufficiency for capability, fair trade for plenty of guns. Just not one the Old Order Amish were ever allowed to make. Here's where most of what's out there on this topic gets it wrong. It talks about the Amish like there's one rule book everybody signed. There isn't. Every district has its own Ordnung set by its own bishop, and the line on guns moves the same way it moves on buggies, phones, and generators. Some communities restrict power tools completely, full hand tool discipline, which is the actual discipline this video is about. Others are a lot looser than the postcard version of Amish life suggests. Workshops running off diesel generators, cabinet shops with a CNC router, hunters carrying rifles and optics as current as anything on a dealer's shelf. People who've spent real time around these communities tell stranger stories than that. Amish buyers walking out of gun shows with a brand new rifle, still in the factory box, same as anybody else standing in that line. By some accounts, a single state can hold dozens of separate Amish church districts, each drawing the line in a slightly different place. So when a video tells you flatly that the Amish don't use modern tools, some don't, some absolutely do, and the ones who don't aren't choosing simplicity as an aesthetic. They're living inside a restriction the rest of us walked away from voluntarily, and it's still working for them. Subscribe if you're the kind of owner who still checks his own actions instead of trusting a warranty card, because the test for which of your own guns would survive that restriction is next. Here's the test. Not a checklist you need a manual for, just a question worth asking about a gun you already own. Can you strip it down to its major components with nothing but a screwdriver, a punch, and a rag? No proprietary wrench only one company sells. No electronic reset that needs a laptop and a cable. No single part cast by one company in one place that has to still be in business 30 years from now for your gun to stay a gun instead of a paperweight. Run that through your own safe. The plain bolt gun your father handed down passes without a second thought. The pump shotgun that's seen 3 duck blinds across 3 decades passes too. The one with the accessory rail and a takedown pin that needs a special tool, that one's a maybe. And you already knew it. That's the trade a modern gun makes without you agreeing to it. It assumes there will always be a supply chain standing behind it. Most of the time, that's a safe bet. It's just not one the men we're talking about were ever allowed to make. That's not a knock on the modern gun. It's just a different relationship with the man who owns it. One needs you, the other needs a phone number. So bring this back to what it's actually saying, because it was never "go be Amish." It's this. The habit that keeps a gun alive for 50 years isn't rare because it's hard. It's rare because it stopped being required. For most of American gun ownership, hand maintenance wasn't a lifestyle choice either. It was just what owning a gun meant. Before there was always a shop 3 towns over or a part you could order overnight. The Old Order Amish didn't preserve some secret nobody else has access to. They just never had the option to outsource it. And here's the part I'm not going to soften because you'd catch it anyway. This isn't a universal Amish trait, and treating it like one is the kind of shortcut that gets torn apart in the comments by anybody who's actually done business with these communities. The hand tool-only discipline belongs to specific Old Order districts under a specific kind of Ordnung. Plenty of Amish shooters in plenty of other districts are running rifles and optics as modern as anything on a dealer's shelf. The restriction was never Amish. It's a choice one bishop made for one community, and it happens to produce a result worth paying attention to because it forces you to actually know the thing you own, every spring and every pin, since there's nobody else to call. That's not primitive. That's just what ownership used to mean for Amish and English alike, before it got easier to replace a gun than to understand one. Picture the gun counter. Two men standing at the same case, though neither knows it yet. One's got a rifle in a soft case that's been sitting for 3 weeks, waiting on a polymer part that has to come from the factory. The other's got a gun, old enough that its bluing has gone the color of a coffee stain, and he isn't even there to buy anything. He just needs one specific screw, the kind the man behind the counter still keeps sorted by hand in a drawer. Neither says a word about brand, but one of those rifles needed a company. The other just needed him. So do the test tonight. Walk over to your own safe, pick one up, and ask yourself, could you strip that gun down to a screwdriver and a rag, or does it need a part only one company on earth still makes? Tell me which one passed. Subscribe if this is the kind of conversation you came here to have.